You are very familiar with this show, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, and it returns February 15th, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. It is live as always. The biggest race in NASCAR takes center stage. We know that, the Daytona 500. But before they drop the green on that one, it is NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. Join the gang. Now, that could be something that Kenny Wallace would do. We don't know who this gentleman is, but he is attempting to ride his jet ski, his wave runner, around Lake Lloyd for the entire 24 hours.
Wow, he's lucky it's warmed up a little bit. It's so cold here earlier in the week. He'd be freezing right now. But
I think he's wrapped up well.
Pretty mild temperatures here tonight.
Brian Till, is that something that you would attempt?
No.
You live in Columbus. You're used to the cold.
Not at all. It was 17 below in Columbus last week. John Pugh shares the number 6 car with Michael Valiente all year long. The problems, John, anybody been able to put a finger on it yet?
We don't know yet. It just stopped on AJ. They're looking at it right now. We're not quite sure what it is, but the Krone car had a similar problem. Just we're comparing notes with the engineers, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
I was going to say, I just saw the Krone engineering staff over here. Did it sound like the exact same problem? We heard that the oil pressure went, and yours still seemed to have pressure.
Similar problem, but not exact.
They're trying to compare notes, guys, and figure it out. But what we do know is that both the 6 and the 76 are out.
Does it have something to do with Ford power?
Well, there's been so much talk in the offseason about how dominant the Fords looked at times last year, winning the last 2 races. A couple of the big teams we've already mentioned, SunTrust and Krone, switching over to Ford power. There's really been a balanced shift within the whole Daytona prototype category towards the Ford camp. But you know, if there is a little gremlin within that motor, it's going to start to show up on all of them, because that's the way it goes. But hopefully not. I mean, we've got a lot of strong cars still out there, and hopefully it'll be a good day for Ford.
We're under our 7th full course caution at the moment. In last year's Rolex 24 here at Daytona, there were 22 caution periods for 112 laps. That was something like 16% of the race was under yellow. We almost went 100 laps earlier today without our first yellow. But as they say, yellow breeds yellow. So we're kind of into that cycle at the moment, but we encourage you to stick around. We're going to be here live for a little over another hour. You're watching the Rolex 24 on Speed. Yeah, it's not just on the main track, is it? There's people having fun all around Daytona International Speedway. And towards the end of that commercial break, the lights have come back on the Pontiac safety car here at the Speedway. And we believe there is more debris on the track. They're doing a thorough cleanup. So this has been a prolonged caution period. It allows everyone to grab an extra breath, regroup, refocus for the next 18 3/4 hours. Gives you a great shot from the blimp high above. I have to say, Cal, the temperature today and even this evening when we were making our way back to the booth, it is very, very mild compared to, say, the previous 3, 4, 5 days.
Oh, absolutely. We had a frost here in the mornings, temperatures in the mid to high 20s earlier in the week, and that would have been a real disaster for these drivers here tonight, because it's very hard to generate tire temperature when you put new tires on. No tire warmers allowed in this series, so it would have been really tough for everyone tonight. But nice, mild, ideal racing temperatures here, so it should be a great race.
This is the season opening event as well in the 2009 Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series. Great to have Danica Patrick back in the mix. Let's hear from her.
Of course, Danica Patrick, one of those racers out here that really needs no introduction, but among her many achievements, becoming the first woman to win an IndyCar race. Danica, I know the last time that we talked, you hadn't had much time behind the wheel of this number 2 car. Where are you at comfort-wise as you get ready for your first stint?
I'm excited. You know, I haven't done too very many laps yet, so I've done a little over a stint's worth of laps, including the test and this race weekend. So I'm looking forward to getting in the car. I know that we're down, but you know, is it going to be a victory? That's going to take a lot of luck and a lot of other people falling out. But nevertheless, let's just go out there. Let's just go drive this car around. Let's go have some fun. You know, I heard Casey say on the radio earlier, you know, some handling issues. And he's like, you know, we're apologizing for it here. And he's like, you know what, though? He's like, I'm having fun out here. So that's really what it's about out here right now. And I think if we have fun, we're going to be putting our best effort in and making the most of it. And then we'll just see where we end up in, like, what is it, like 18 and a half hours or something left?
Yeah, there's still certainly quite a bit of time left. Now, Lee and Calvin are telling me that you didn't have a whole lot of fun in your golf game with them the other day.
That was my dad. They went out and played in, like, I think my dad's right here, 28 degrees or something out there. And so he's sick.
His name is Lee Whiffy. It's Lee Whiffy, not Lee Diffie.
So he's been down here for a while getting the bus ready. And, yeah, made the most of a cold day.
And Danica, I know, as you said, not exactly the position you'd like to be in as you get behind the wheel, but does that take away some of the pressure, or does it add to the pressure that you need to kind of start making up some time?
Probably takes away. You know, I think that we're facing a lot of handling issues, and obviously we're up against the clock for sure. So I think what it says is that, look, are we going to win this race by going out and putting out our best qualifying laps every lap? I don't think so. This is going to take a whole lot more than that. So I think what we really need to do is just go out there, keep our nose clean, and what do they say? Stay out of the pits.
Got it. We look forward to seeing you get behind the wheel.
Thanks.
Well, you hear a lot of teams talk about the brakes of the Rolex 24. Well, there are also brakes on the car that have to be changed. We heard Michael Shank say 2, maybe 3 times. Well, Ganassi in the 02 car just did one. In the olden days, they might have just changed the brake pads, and sometimes they change the rotor, but these days, they'll go ahead and change the caliper and the rotor in combination. They've got a great system now by which they've got a quick disconnect line on this brake line. They can unsnap it from the other, not get any air in the system, and change the whole combination. A much quicker and a much safer change for the crew members. Now, they won't let us show that quick disconnect. Everybody's got their own special kind. They certainly do here at Chip Ganassi Racing, and we respect that. But when you watch these brake changes today, it's going to be complete packages, not just pads or not just a rotor.
And the key there is, I mean, you could have a more conservative pad setup, which would maybe enable you to do it on just one pad change, but you're going to give up lap time. So Ganassi have thought it through. 2 stops is the way to go for pads. They say they can change them in about 90 seconds, and they've really got that down to a science, even in terms of whether the mechanic is left or right-handed and getting underneath that bodywork and getting that change made. They've thought it through completely.
What's one of the key words that we've been mentioning? It was one of our keys to the race: serviceability. Minimize your time in the pits, and that's what Team Ganassi are masters of doing. They did not test in October. They did not test in November. The team did have their annual vacation, but outside of that, they just spent so much time at their headquarters in Indianapolis. The IndyCar program and Grand Am programs are headquartered under the one roof there in Indy, and the boys just went to work on refining, making themselves better. They won the 24-hour, they won the championship, but it's not enough. You've always got to strive to be better, to be faster, to be more efficient. And that's something that Telmex Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates does so well. Great to have the blimp cam high above. We thank DirecTV, and if you're a sports fan, you've got to have DirecTV. I think we're ready to go racing, Cal.
I'm ready, mate. Let's get fired up. This is awesome stuff. We've got some really fast cars right at the front of the pack here. 2 of the Bromos up in the top 4, including the leader, Buddy Rice. Ryan Briscoe, that Penske's been quick all day long. And Memo Rojas looking a little bit feisty right now.
This is the run that Buddy's been waiting for, the 2004 Indy 500 winner. Stretch his legs at the front of this field. He's got another IndyCar driver hot on his heels. What can Ryan Briscoe do? And Memo Rojas, who has come of age over the past 12, 14 months. Look on the inside. Hurley Hayward was keen there to get an early shot on Memo Rojas. Down on the apron. Green flies. Let's go.
There's Mark Patterson making a move on the outside in the 60 car. That's the sister car to the 6 car that we saw had problems just a short while ago. Again, that car has Ford power also. Middle of the pack there. That's the other 02 car, the other Ganassi machine. Scott Dixon now behind the wheel.
Just goes to show the confidence of Mark Patterson, putting an outside move on Hurley Hayward, a 5-time Rolex 24 winner, down into turns 1 and 2. Meanwhile, Buddy Rice is extending an advantage, getting a good restart, taking off, and he's left Briscoe slightly behind.
After the last pit stop, Michael Lucci told Buddy on the radio, he said, look, we changed the air pressure on the tires a little bit. You should have a very good car underneath you. That seems to be working. He also said, hey, Buddy, check the radar. There is no rain in sight, so you're good to go. Alluding to the last year, Buddy Rice spent a lot of time with the rain out on this speedway.
Speaking about a lot of time, that's exactly what Brumos did in testing. they did not only the October, November, and January tests, they did a tyre test in October. From the end of the season last year to this race, they did 3,730 miles of testing. That is preparation.
It really is, and that's what you need to do to get ready for this big race. We saw Ryan DL make a move on Mark Patterson a short while ago. That was not for position. He's just trying to get some of those laps back that team have lost today.
It's Buddy Rice, Ryan Briscoe, Memo Rojas, Mark Patterson, Hurley Haywood. That's the top 5. Bert Frizzell for AIM Autosport. Then you've got the 55 of Christophe Bouchou, Scott Dixon, Matteo Bobby, and Brian Frizzell in the 10.
Well, the AIM Autosport boys have had a pretty quiet weekend, but don't count those out. They really know what it takes to try and be up front at the end of this race. They finished in the top 5 on their debut here a couple of years ago. Had such a strong season in 2008. A little bit of change of chemistry. It's still Wilkins and Frizzell, but it's Bert instead of Brian this year.
Quick onboard shot there from the 87 of Richard Westbrook, looking at the 88. Another one of the Farnbacher Lowell's car. Dave Lacey was down on the low side there. Leading GT is 07 Jan Magnussen, doing a great job from Westbrook in second. Eric Lutz has now been pushed back into 3rd place. Good movement in the GT class. We ride aboard with Christophe Bouchou.
Well, this car has been sensationally quick through all of the Daytona test days. I know they had to be disappointed with their qualifying performance, but this team is essentially led by the group from Kelly Moss Racing that had so much success 10, 15 years ago in IMSA Racing, and it's a pretty neat little group, and I think they're really going to make some great strides here this year, running the Daytona prototype for the first time. Bouchou won here, of course, back in the mid-90s overall. He won at Spa on his debut, so he has a stellar record in these big endurance events.
You mentioned Kelly Moss Motorsports up there in Wisconsin. Guess who's an integral part of Kelly Moss? He's the general manager of the business. A man who might know a little bit about 24 Hours, Price Cobb.
Yes, a lot of experience on that team.
These guys, when I say these guys, the Daytona prototype and GT competitors at the front, vying for the lead, vying for the podium spots, have just been hammering on each other. There's only 1.3 seconds between Buddy Rice and Ryan Briscoe. Another 3 seconds further back to Memo Rojas. And Hurley Haywood and Bert Frizzell have got back ahead of Mark Patterson.
Well, the pace is really hard here today. Ideal conditions. Here you see Mark Patterson. Boy, has he progressed as a driver over the last couple of years. Got his 2nd victory in Rolex competition last year at New Jersey alongside his regular teammate, Oz Negri. They'll look for more this year, I'm sure.
Right in the mix there, you see the gentleman Jack Crawford. Pontiac Power Plant car number 2. Casey Mears is behind the wheel. Rolex 24 and Daytona winner Casey Mears from several years ago when he was with Ganassi. They're down on lap 145. Our race leader Buddy Rice is on 168. There's quite a margin. They're quite a way behind, but this is a very important race for Crawford and for Childress Howard Motorsports in the development of this new car and going in to a full season, which is exactly what Andy Wallace and Rob Finlay are doing.
Well, it's a beautiful race car, and unfortunately, they don't have the strength in numbers anymore like they used to. I really had a lot of Crawford chassis in this series 2 or 3 years ago, but Riley has really been the backbone of this series. We've now got the Dallara chassis, of course, the Lola, which is really the rebranded Multimatic chassis that won here on debut in this class back in 2003, of course. Didn't win overall that day. But several, whoa, this is getting dicey down there. Very close to contact and a very high speed. You're coming from about 180 miles an hour all the way down to 90 miles an hour minimum speed, should I say, through that bus stop chicane. BMW Power up against Ford. 2 different chassis, however. Riley behind, and again the Lola in front. Currently driven by Tracy Crone, who's doing a good job here this evening.
Let's get back down to the pits. Here's Brian Till with an update from Mike Shank Racing.
Mike's watching the monitors right now. Let's talk about the 6 car first. Have you determined what the problem was?
It appears we lost the crank trigger, the thing that runs the ignition system for the car. Real unfortunate. hopefully we don't have an issue with anything else on the 60 on the Westfield car. So far, Mark Patterson's doing a great job.
Well, that was going to be my next question. The boys up top talking about what a great job Mark is doing. We saw this team win the final 2 races of 2008, and then a great outside pass by Mark on Hurley Haywood there at the start. He really seems to have a fire lit.
No, it's really great. Mark's the best. I've been with him for almost 5 years now, and I love it when he drives and improves like he does every year.
Best of luck. One down, still got one out there, though.
Well, that's the key with this race. We heard Jimmy Vasser talk about it at the opening of the show, that they only have 1 bullet in their gun. Some of the other big teams have 2. 64 cars slowing right now. Tim Sugden, the Englishman, behind the wheel. He's always been so fast in these Porsche race cars. Knew him back when he was a young kid in England racing go-karts. Always been quick.
Climb aboard the TRG 67 with Jörg Bergmeister, former Daytona prototype champion for Krone Racing when they had Ford Power 3 years ago. And he is a Rolex 24 at Daytona class and overall winner. He knows how to get it done here, whether it be in a DP or a GT. And he is chasing, he is fighting as hard as he can using all of his experience in Porsche GT3 racing to get back on the lead lap.
Well, he just goes out and wins championship. There we see a problem where the rear wheel is gone on that Ferrari. Right rear, there you see it bouncing across the racetrack.
It's Nathan Schwartzbar. It was in that Ferrari, is in that Ferrari. And the runaway wheel.
Well, this will be a yellow for sure because we won't be able to move there. Fortunately, that wheel looks like it's going to come to rest off the racing line. And those wheels are really heavy, probably about 40 to 50 pounds there. So good news is it's back off the racing line. Good to see Nathan back behind the wheel. Didn't see a lot of action last year.
This is the Coast to Costa Racing Ferrari. There are 2 Ferrari 430 Challenge cars. Here's the replay just ahead of Bergmeister.
Wheel's already gone. Catch a little bit late on the camera shot there. You see the wheel reappear, unfortunately not into the path of one of the cars that are still on track.
And this situation will get cleaned up. We'll go back under a full course caution. We've got 15 cars. The top 15 are all Daytona prototypes, and we have got the top 10 cars still on the lead lap. The Ferrari of Nathan Schwartzbar is being cleaned up here as we welcome you back to the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Of course, the Daytona prototypes are the headline act, but we have a 2-class series in Grand Am racing. And in GT, the Paddock Talk was about 3 favorites for this race. The 87 Farnbacher Lowe's car, the 70 race defending winning car of Speed Source, the Mazda, and the 67 TRG Porsche, with one of the drivers being Jörg Bergmeister. Let's check in with the German now.
Jörg, this is Calvin Fish in the speed booth. Looks like you're having a great run here tonight, mate, but you're a lap down. Can the team perform some strategy magic here under this yellow and get you back on that lead lap at all?
So plan is right now to stay out and hopefully get a wayfire again to get back on the lead lap. And yeah, we just need some luck, I guess.
We anticipated an intense battle with you and all the Porsche boys, but are you surprised to see that Pontiac leading right now this early in the race?
That's definitely a surprise. I guess they were sandbagging quite well during qualifying and all the practice sessions. Running really strong right now.
What's it like to be back behind the wheel of one of these GT cars? I mean, you've won the Daytona Prototype Championship. Still great to be back at Daytona at the 24, I assume.
Yeah, it's always great being in Daytona, no matter what car you're in. Definitely it's the best in a Porsche, though. But it's fun in GT car and in the DP. I'm really enjoying it.
We had some really cold conditions here earlier in the week. I assume you're relieved that we've got mild and moderate temperatures here tonight. What are the track conditions like, Jörg?
Because it's actually fairly good conditions. Unfortunately, we did all our setup work in the cold conditions. So right now we are just struggling a little bit with in the slow corners with the mid-corner push. And at the high speed, the car is fairly loose. We made some little adjustments that seem to help, but we will go from here.
All right, mate, we'll let you go. Good luck tonight.
Man, have fun.
That guy knows how to win major races and championships. He is a 3-time American Le Mans Series champion, and he was the 2006 Grand Am Daytona prototype champion. Just think about that record in the last 4 or 5 years. He just knows how to get it done so effectively, and he is one of the best Porsche drivers in the world. You may notice something different there. Our in-car camera look at the drivers and their helmet, more specifically, and the cockpit area has been somewhat obscured by this new netting.
Well, it's really a safety issue, and I really applaud the Grand Am series for really implementing this. You have to have them on both sides in the GT and the Daytona prototypes, and it really helps these drivers out enormously. Here you see it in the Daytona prototype. This is the 60 machine with Oz Negri now behind the wheel. And when you have an impact that really just stops that driver head from whipping around side to side, we've seen some really great footage over the off-season from GM, who have really done a lot of investigation into this situation inside the cockpits when the drivers suffer a really bad side impact to the cars. It's amazing how much the neck will actually stretch, Lee, and this really keeps everything in place.
All in the name of continuing to improve safety, keep the drivers safe, regardless of whether the impact is frontal, rear, or side. And as we mentioned again, we do applaud the Grand American Road Racing Association for their efforts in that. This cleanup situation is continuing. If you just joined us, it's our 8th full course caution. Nathan Schwartzbar lost the rear right wheel down in the bus stop area, and we're just waiting for that to be loaded onto the flatbed. As that is happening, let's join another GT driver who's having a very good run today, Kelly.
With Dirk Werner from the 87 Farnbacher Lowell's Porsche. Dirk, your car has certainly proven to be strong thus far. Tell me what your stint was like behind the wheel.
Yeah, I did the first 2 hours of the race, and our plan was just to cruise around and don't lose the contact to the leaders. And it happened that the 86 car, which is the sister car from the Farnbacher Lowell's team, led the race. So, so far everything went good as far as my stint is concerned. Then I saw that the battle between the 86 and the 87 went on for the first 5 hours. And now it seems that we have a little problem with the 87 car because the rear wing is bent because of a contact between the car and a mechanic in the pit lane. But the guys now looked for the wing. I think everything is okay.
All right, Dirk will be back behind the wheel here shortly, but we go to the 01 that I understand is in the garage.
That's right. They came to pit road and went straight to the garage, and I can see why. Major damage to the splitter on the right front. Over there, the crew working right now, they're going to have to remove this entire front splitter. We call it the front porch. It's got the radiator housing in it as well. Also a lot of the cooling ducts. So major damage to that splitter, and this is going to be a lengthy fix here, guys.
Well, the key is it's under caution, so that will help them out. Remember back in 02, they had 2 lengthy pit stops with the car back in the garage area, still went on to win. And this is what we talk about. You talked about it, Lee, didn't do a lot of testing, but these boys have rehearsed this type of scenario. So you'd have to think if anyone's going to get it done in a hurry, it's the Ganassi crew.
And this is a very long caution period. So if anything, this has happened at the right time. You don't want it to happen when you're in this position, but if it's going to happen, you want it to happen during a caution. Notice on the splitter there, the new metal strip across the front. Not all teams run this. This is a Ganassi idea. Just give yourself a little extra protection. If you run off, if there's contact with another car, let's just give ourselves a little bit more of a buffer. Just strengthen that area.
The key, if that splitter has taken that big a hit, you have to wonder about the radiator and all of the other components down there, Brian. Do you see any other damage?
I don't see any other damage. I don't see any fluid damage, and I can see a little bit of the suspension. I can see the push rod and the upper control arms and stuff. They look okay. So it looks like right now maybe just the splitter, but Lee was talking about that extra metal strip across the front. Well, the 61 AIM team has a similar system in place. They put it on there and they said if we hit something, hopefully it'll remove that aluminum strip and not damage the carbon fiber. They hit it, it took the carbon fiber and the aluminum, so they too have some splitter damage on the 61. They actually put a piece of that bare bond material, almost like a giant piece of duct tape on the 61 to try to take care of that. But this change going very, very quickly. The radiator stayed in place. It'll just drop into a holder in the housing there on the front splitter. They'll have to hook the cooling ducts back up for the brakes, make sure all the attachments are in place. Grant Weaver there, one of the shop managers, always comes to the endurance races, standing there in the light blue button down, directing, had the pieces in place and ready to go when they got back over here. And he's good at having pieces in place. He used to be my chief mechanic when I raced, so he knows about repairing things,
needed
guys.
a lot to be in place those days, Brian, I bet. But the important thing is here is that this team is running the later Riley bodywork. They didn't run it here last year at the 24-hour race. The 01 car is running the later bodywork, which is actually a different splitter setup to actually try and alleviate some of these issues if you do run off course. But again, Memo must have had a pretty hard hit. There's been a lot of debris out there this evening. Maybe he ran over something. We haven't seen him off the road, so we'll have to wait and see if we can find out when he made this contact and had the damage.
And one of the big differences between the big teams, the super teams, of course, you could say money and resources, but the difference between a Ganassi, a Penske, teams like this and everybody else is their personnel. It's human resource management. Everybody knows what their job is and their individual workspace, and when some adversity comes, they know exactly how to react. We'll follow this story on the other side of this. It's one of the great things about the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Interesting storylines, drama, eventful happenings, and that is just what has occurred to Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates and Memo Rojas in the defending winning car of this wonderful race, the 01 Telmex Lexus Riley. It's back out on track. It did beat the safety car back out. Brian Till, tell us more.
It was spectacular watching him work down there. Timmy King was just talking to Memo on the radio, still talking to him, trying to get a word with him, find out the extent of the damage. But I heard Timmy saying, this is where your bars are. That might not be the setting that you want them on, so they're just trying to get Memo calm down. Tim, what was the extent of the damage? Was it just the front splitter?
It was the splitter. We went ahead and changed brakes while we were back there. We lost one lap. We'll get that back eventually. We got a long way to go. We just couldn't take a chance. We weren't going to have a chance of winning the race with it like that, so we just had to get with it now. So,
how long ago did this damage happen?
Must have happened in one stint. I don't know that it actually came off then, because we just now saw it, but Alex said when he was behind Juan, he saw Juan hit something really hard, so Juan never reported that to us. So.
Sometimes the radio just doesn't seem to work, guys. Calvin, you never had an issue like that.
No. I'm glad I don't race now with all this telemetry stuff. It's hard to tell any fibs to your crew.
So, just dropping back as Rojas built up speed and plays catch-up. Just dropping back and updating you on that GT story that we touched on earlier. Calvin radioed in and spoke with Jörg Bergmeister. There are two cars between the 07 class-leading car of Jan Magnussen and the 67 of Jörg Bergmeister to get his lap back. We would then go from 5 cars on the lead lap in GT to 6. Remember, it was a bitter pill to swallow 12 months ago for TRG. They finished 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. They would desperately love to lock out the podium this year. Pontiac G8 pace car is off. Green flag is ready. And we've got a Brumos up front, 1 and 2. The Porsche-powered Rileys dominating this field. It's been a marvelous run so far. Look at the Ganassi car around the outside. Scott Dixon, beautiful restart.
Straight up to second. That car's second spot on the road is not for position. It's a few laps down. It is fast, though. So Scott Dixon got the hammer down there. Got around Christophe Bouchou, who's now putting the pressure on Hurley Hayward.
The 22 Allegra BMW. It's Ryan Dial in the middle, but as Calvin mentioned, it's not on the lead lap. It's not for position. So Dixon, if he can get by that 22, he's got a clear shot at Buddy Rice. The 2 IndyCar stars at the head of this field.
Scott said earlier in this race when he got out after starting the race, he was really impressed with how hard everyone's pushing. Now he's looking for a way by DL. DL protects the inside. Difficult situation for Ryan. He's trying to get those laps back. He'd love to get in front of that car in front of him. If there was another yellow, he'd immediately get one of those laps back. So he's going to be reluctant to let Scott get by him.
That's one of those agonizing, frustrating aspects of endurance sports car racing when you have been at the front and led a race like this, like Ryan Dial when he drove for Samac several years ago. But you're several laps down now, you still want to be at the front fighting for the lead. He's trying to get a lap back here, trying to get by Buddy Rice.
Well, he's 4 laps down right now, so one of those would be precious, and there's a long way to go. If you can keep working that strategy magic, you're never out of. We see a car going straight there. That's the Krone Lola, Tracy Krone. Just missing the chicane. He has to come to a stop. There's a corner marshal right there. Gives him the signal. There's a GT car right behind him. Speedway, those Porsches have looked strong here today, Lee.
It's been a common comment at how well they have been performing. That new power plant in the back. It's a Lexus-powered Riley doing the chasing, though. The blue, red and white car of Scott Dixon.
He has to be patient. He will certainly be aware that Ryan Dial is several laps down, but I mean, of course, a very fast race car, BMW power, fast driver. I mean, Ryan Dial, what an impression he made here a couple of years ago, running for Samex. Finished second behind one of the Ganassi cars, but I never forget those early morning hours with he and Juan Pablo Montoya going hammer and tongs.
It was electrifying. It was an amazing run from the Scottish driver who competed in the new Super League formula at the end of last year. It was very much a shortened season. It wasn't too extensive. I think six or seven rounds last year. Dial didn't do the entire season, but he was representing
Rangers,
my memory here. Rangers, I think. Yeah, you're right. But he enjoyed that. He's a very versatile driver. Comes from the open wheel world, but has now made his home in sports car racing, and more to the point, in Grand Am.
Said wearing a kilt though with that 6-point harness was a little tough.
Scott Dixon, who is an avid aviator, did the favor of flying his teammate, his new IndyCar teammate, Dario Franchitti down. Flew from Indy, stopped in via Nashville to pick Dario up, and then flew him down here to Daytona Beach. Loves flying.
Said it got a bit hairy on the way, and there was a lot more planes in the air than he anticipated when they got around Ormond Beach. So probably Dario, who's a keen helicopter pilot. A little bit wide-eyed, but two very good friends. They get along well. Expect a strong season from them on the IndyCar circuit. Meanwhile, Jan Magnussen, boy, of the Banner Racing team, performed some magic here with strategy. This is not a fast race car on these high banks, but they now hold the lead. Magic stuff here. Qualified down in 15th position in the GT category. They thought they might be a factor at the end of 24 hours. They're a factor already.
All right, let's have a look here, Cal. Let's find where the 67 car is. There is the 07 class leading car. Where is the green machine? Not that one, not the Daytona prototype. Is that Bergmeister there? No. So he's still got, there's plenty more traffic between the 07 and the 67.
Yeah, he's got to make up some ground there to try and get back on that lead lap, but Jorg will be pushing hard. Now we're on board with him. See the difference in speed there, particularly through that fast dogleg. That's where the Daytona prototypes, with their downforce, really have a distinct advantage. Probably about 20 miles an hour faster through that section. The Daytona prototypes are hitting 138 through that dogleg. Very fast, high-speed section of the racetrack.
In GT, it is Jan Magnussen, Richard Westbrook, Richard Leitz, a Le Mans 24-hour GT2 winner, very fast guy, and he is the best of the TRG cars, ahead of Eric Lux, Philippe Martin, and then Jorg Bergmeister in the 67. Craig Stanton in the Regal Stanton machine, doing a great job in the 65, and then Robin Liddell, another one of the Pontiac GXPRs, in 23rd overall and 8th in class. Robin knows what it's like to win a Rolex 24 at Daytona. He has one of those fabulous wristwatches on his left wrist. He won the GT category several years ago.
On board here with Westy, as the team likes to call him, and I think he's jumping around a couple of those Farnbacher Lowe's Porsches here this weekend.
Yeah.
The rules will allow you to do that. However, you must qualify one car, start in that car, and that'll be the only car that you score points in. But certainly when you've got a big squad of cars, they want to try and get advantage of the experience of Richard Westbrook, who's regarded as one of the top Porsche pilots in the world.
What he did is he started in the 88 in the Steve Johnson, Dave Lacey car. That's the car that he'll get points in, but he's a floater. He's floating on the 87 as well. Good to see the 70 Speed Source Mazda back out there. It's a long, long way to catch up. Sylvain Tremblay is in 44th overall. He's completed 131 laps and is many, many down. You'll remember that he went behind the wall very early on in this race and is playing catch up. But the Speed Source team will not give up.
Car is so fast around here. They've won the Daytona races the last 3 times that we've visited this racetrack. The 24-hour race last year, of course, and the 2 summer races last year and back in 07. They got a long haul tonight, though, to try and get this car back in contention, being that many laps down. Don't see it happening. There's too much competition this year in the GT category. If you're just chasing one or two cars, when you've got a host of these Porsches, don't see it happening.
The famous 66 TRG Porsche, the AXA Porsche, here at the Rolex 24 this year. This is the car that Richard Leitz is piloting and looking to pair his Le Mans GT2 victory with a Rolex 24 victory. He, of course, won that several years ago with American Patrick Long. Hey, let's hear from a man who has set up a Daytona prototype team. He's done plenty of GT racing, but now he's in the big time.
That's right, he's in the 55 Supercar Life BMW. Riley here, Scott Tucker, team owner and driver. You've had a stint out there, and what kind of feedback have you gotten from your other drivers?
Everything's going good. Car's doing really good. No complaints so far.
We were just talking your best finish here in 8th place. You're running 4th right now. Do you feel like this is the strongest effort you've put together thus far?
Yeah, right now, this is the strongest we've been, so we're hoping to keep it there.
Thanks, Scott.
Christophe Bouchou has elevated himself and the 55 Supercar Life BMW to 3rd now. So it's Buddy Rice, Scott Dixon. The margin is 3.5 seconds there. Then Christophe Bouchou, Hurley Hayward, Matteo Bobby has got the McDonald's Dallara up into the top 5 ahead of Brian Frizzell. Ryan Briscoe is back in 7th in the Crown Royal Penske Porsche. Then Bert Frizzell, Oswaldo Negri and Rojas on the comeback trail. 1 lap down is in 10th.
Well, Timmy Keane just really said it all about the experience that the Ganassi boys have. They realized that that splitter was going to be an issue. They could have continued to run, but they realized with this much time left in this race, almost 18 hours, at some point it would have... Oh, spin there for the 13 car. There's Jared Beyer behind the wheel, leading a whole group of youngsters. We've got 2 of Wayne Taylor's boys in the car, Jordan and Ricky, joined by David Martinez for this race. But Jared made his Daytona prototype debut last year. Really nice young man, but certainly thrown in at the deep end. This is his first time at the Daytona 24-hour race. What an experience that must be like.
The average age of drivers in this car is just over 20.
Well, I think he could see the headlights down on the inside, maybe looking for that car to go down there. He stayed wide of the apex. It's very dirty offline. Simple spin. Here you see on board with the 60 car of Oz Negri. Down into that braking zone.
He's not afraid.
No, he's not. Oz takes it in there deep. I'm sure he was surprised that Jared wasn't getting on the brakes. Let's take another look at a different angle here. And he's already out of control there. So just got in probably a car length or two too deep, wide of the ideal line, and simple spin.
On pit road, Jared Beyer has gotten out of the car. It looks like David Martinez is getting in. No damage to the car, but they will go ahead and change tires. Obviously, they're flat spotted, fill it with fuel and go. This team has been spectacular. You talk about Jordan Taylor, Ricky Taylor, Jared Beyer, David Martinez. Martinez is the old man on the team. I think he's 27. That's real old, isn't it, guys?
Hey, Brian, when you were 18, would you have been brave enough to try and outbrake Oz Negri?
Well, I was getting ready to say, you should have seen it down the front straightaway moments ago. This car a lap or two down to the 16, Ryan Briscoe behind the wheel, and they were almost banging fenders, Jared Beyer and Ryan Briscoe down the front straightaway. These young men are not shy by any stretch of the imagination and very talented. Ricky Taylor had the fastest lap of any Pontiac-powered Daytona prototype earlier in the event, so the team is set up well, the drivers are fast, so is this car.
And you're right, David Martinez is the grandpa at 27. You've got Jordan Taylor at 17, Jared Beyer at 18, and Ricky Taylor at 19. Great group of guys. We wish them well in their big pursuit of success here at the Rolex 24. We are with you live until 10 o'clock Eastern this evening, so for another 15 or 20 minutes. And then we'll be back from 7 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning, uninterrupted all the way through until 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, right here on Speed, bringing you the finish and more of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Can Chip Ganassi Racing go all the way for 4 consecutive overall victories? They've got their work cut out for them because there are teams stepping up to the plate all the time. Some important figures on the Rolex race analysis there for you. 7 lead changes. Still no cars officially retired from this race in the 49-car field. And we have had 7 full course cautions for a total of 31 laps. We've just had a positional change while we've been away. Christophe Bouchou has got the foot down. A 1:43.8 has got him far past Scott Dixon for second place. And he is chasing out after Buddy Rice, but Buddy has almost a 9-second advantage. Brumos still leads the way. There are drivers young and old here at the World Centre of Racing. Some with a lot of experience, some their very first 24-hour. Brian?
Why'd you have to say young and old? I'm obviously the old one down here, Lee. I'm standing here with Jared Beyer. Now, Jared, this Beyer Racing team, obviously a very young driver lineup. The guys and I were just talking about it. You guys have been doing a spectacular job. I know Ricky Taylor was turning in some laps. I'm watching you run side by side with Ryan Briscoe out there. This has got to be exciting, especially here at Daytona, the Rolex 24 for your first time.
It's a lot of fun. I'm so excited to be here. We've been running good all day. We had a little mix-up in the back bus stop there, tried to go a little too deep, but I think we have a good car and we'll see where we end up tomorrow.
I was going to say, this team is hooked up. That's the good news. The bad news is what just happened in the bus stop. We were talking about whether you reached down to turn on that Lennox air conditioner in the car and lost a little bit of concentration. What did happen down there?
I just went a little bit too deep, got ahead of myself, so I need to calm down a little bit.
I think I would need to calm down, too, after something like that. You guys are set to run all the way to 3:30, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll see him tomorrow.
Well, very impressive team, Beyer Racing, led by John Batos. That's Nicholas Cape there. The Cape brothers, Dominic Cape, his brother, is engineering this car. They've had so much success in the junior single-seater categories over the years, and now they've made the move to sports car racing. They'll make an impression for sure. Very smart group of guys.
2 young men in the orange driving suits. They were the Taylor boys.
Always with
and
a smile
Jordan
on their face.
Yeah.
Really enjoying their stuff, and very impressive indeed.
Race leading car, race leading driver, Buddy Rice from Scottsdale, Arizona. Buddy, not yet ready to talk about his 2009 IndyCar Series campaign. He said he had a smile on his face, and he was kind of bursting to say, he said, I'll be able to say something soon.
Look at the traffic he's about to encounter. There's a gaggle of GT cars he's got to thread his way through. And meanwhile, Christophe Bouchou in the 55 car has taken about 3 seconds out of Buddy's lead. By the time he gets through this little group, I could see that being in half, because he's going to be slowed considerably here.
Yeah, the margin's down to less than 7 seconds now between Buddy Rice and Christophe Bouchou, who has just discarded Scott Dixon. Matteo Bobby in the McDonald's Dallara is up to 4th, and Hurley Haywood is in the top 5. This is Bouchou. Let's take a ride. You won your class here for Roush. Did that get the juices flowing again?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be on the Roush squad. I mean, they won that race about 8 or 9 times in a row, I think it was, back in the late 80s and early 90s. And Robbie Gordon, myself, and Lynn St. James teamed up to score a victory here in 1990. I think we finished 5th or 6th overall, as I recall. But there's nothing like this race. I mean, it really beats you up. But at the end of the day, and it literally is a day, of course, to come through with a victory is very rewarding. And you see the celebration on the crew, their faces when you pull it down into the pit lane there and you've got that victory. That's something else, something that I won't forget.
This is Ryan Briscoe putting the pressure on a 5-time Rolex 24 winner, Hurley Haywood. One of the key talking points of this race, in any endurance race, is staying out of the pits. The 16 Crown Royal cast number 16 car has been in the pits 8 times thus far, plays 5 times for the race leading car. Have they stopped too many times? Are they going to be forced to stop too many times to be a race winner?
Well, they had that electrical issue early on in the event, which caused them to make a very early pit stop from the lead. And subsequent pit stops, they went a little bit longer. They had some electrical glitch with the fuel pumps and so forth. Roger Penske explained that to us after their third stop. I think right now they're getting similar mileage to the rest of the team, so they're back on track. You know, they're running right at the front of the pack here in the top 6. So Ryan Briscoe doing a great job, of course, and they use their experience. They're learning in terms of what the car will give them in terms of mileage, and they'll certainly start to stretch it when they need to. But it's important. You cannot afford to run out of fuel here, because that will cost you dearly in terms of getting the car back to the paddock, topping him back up. So they did the right thing. They had some concerns, had some unknowns. They had to play it safe. There is a lot of family ties here at the Rolex 24 in 2009. We just spoke about the Taylor brothers. We've spoken about the father-son relationships with Dan Gurney and Alex Gurney being on pole, and David Donahue achieved what his father did 38 years ago. He put it on pole. Well, there's a family connection here as well. This is Brian Frizzell in the SunTrust Dallara, and he is currently in 7th position. One spot behind him in 8th is his elder brother Bert Frizzell, racing in the 61 AIM Autosport Ford. And up atop the roof, above where Calvin and I are sitting, and the rest of the Speed crew, is Brad Frizzell, their father, who is spotting this weekend. He said, I kind of like having my 2 sons in 2 different teams and 2 different cars. It spreads my percentage of win. Well, he's been a great supporter of his young sons, of course, and they certainly deserve it, because they are 2 really fast, really nice young men, and they're going to go a long way in this sport. Bert, of course, ran with the AIM Motorsports team back in 2007 when they had a great debut run here at Daytona, finishing up in the top 5. He was running with Kevin Doran's team last year, and with Brian getting the opportunity with SunTrust, Bert has now moved back into the AIM Autosport team for a full-time ride alongside Mark Welkins, and they're going to make some impressions this year, because they are 2 really rapid young drivers and run by a great team led by Ian Willis. Can't remember if we've mentioned this yet in the broadcast or not, but we will see another car similar to this later on in this year's Grand Am Series. It will run the 51, not the 61, and that will be run by John Ferrano and Alex Figge. And we're looking forward to that. So 2 cars to come out of the AIM stable. That'll be great. And Jeff Brown is actually engineering that 51 car. He's on hand this weekend to help out the whole crew. Of course, he was with Krone Racing last year, so he brings a lot of expertise to the table. And they had a great setup on that car, but with Jeff's experience, you would think they would just go from strength to strength. We're getting near the end of our run. The first part of our run at the Rolex 24 here on Speed. We need to go to a break. Wayne Taylor, the 05 weight race winner and champion, is gearing up for his first run today. The Rolex 24 at Daytona is presented on Speed by Rolex, a crown for every achievement. And brought to you in part by Pirelli. Power is nothing without control. The countdown continues on the official Rolex clock. We've thoroughly enjoyed ourselves thus far today on Fox and on Speed. We hope you have too. We are in our final segment of this show. We're coming to a close for the first part of Speed's coverage. There you have the rundown. IndyCar star and 04 Indy 500 winner Buddy Rice leads a former Rolex 24 and Le Mans 24-hour winner Christophe Bouchou. The veteran French driver showing there is still plenty of life left in him over the reigning IndyCar and Indy 500 winner Scott Dixon, Ryan Briscoe. And then Matteo Bobby, who we've seen plenty in the Grand Am Series, is doing it there for Kevin Doran in the 77 McDonald's Dallara over Hurley Hayward, the Frizzell brothers, Oswaldo Negri in the 60 for Mike Shank Racing, and Memo Rojas, the first to be a lap down in the Daytona prototype class, making his way back. How about this for a surprise? We heard all week how slow the Pontiac GXPR was here at the World Center of Racing. Not so the case now in the race. Jan Magnussen has almost an 11-second lead over Richard Westbrook and Richard Leitz. And then Eric Lux. It's been a tremendous battle between the 2 Porsche powerhouse teams, TRG and Farnbach-Ols. Let's not forget about that 33 Porsche either for Wright Motorsports. Philip Martin doing a great job with Sasha Masson and that whole team. So we will keep a watchful eye on those boys. This is the race leading car though.
the quartet of Buddy Rice, Darren Law, David Donahue, and the incredibly quick Antonio Garcia. Makes for a good lineup.
Oh, sensational, mate. I mean, this is a really strong car and a really strong driver lineup. One thing that I would expect to see is this car on pit lane here shortly. They pit a little bit before the rest of the leaders, about 5 laps early. He's gone 34 laps since his last pit stop. Some of that was under caution, but you'd have to think that Buddy Rice is going to be seeing pit lane here shortly.
The fireworks, it's part of the tradition here at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. The Ferris wheel, the fireworks, the smell of campfires, and the infield full surrounding Lake Lloyd. What a sight that is.
Look at that picture. That is beautiful. It's great to be here. Anyone at home, if you've just watched it on TV, if you have the opportunity to come down and be here for this event, it's more than a race. It is something else.
And it's the variety, isn't it? There's those who come and choose to stay in hotels. There's some that come and stay in their motorhomes. There's others, there's a good many number that stay in tents on the infield.
There's others who ride jet skis around that lake all day. I wonder how he's doing. I don't see him anymore. Maybe he's made a pit stop.
It's what sports car racing is all about. You set yourself up for the long haul. Everybody involved, spectators and teams, of course, alike. There's been some heartbreak already in this race, but there's been some positives. There's some wonderful storylines, and there's some teams who have endured bad luck over the years that seem to be having a very promising run so far. Buddy Rice, if you've just tuned in, Buddy Rice is leading for Brumos Racing. The Porsche-powered Riley started from pole and remains in the #1 position. It is almost time for us to say farewell, folks, but we will be back early tomorrow morning Eastern. 7 o'clock tomorrow morning Eastern. We hope you can be with us, and we're going to take you all the way through to the checkered flag in the 47th running of the Rolex 24 at Daytona and beyond. We'll finish our coverage at 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon Eastern. On behalf of the entire team, we have thoroughly enjoyed bringing you these opening hours of the Rolex 24. How do you see it playing out, mate?
Well, the Porsches have looked so strong. That Penske is looking awfully good. Can Ganassi rebound? Scott Dixon's currently running third. They're trying to get that 01 car back on the lead lap. Lots going to happen overnight. Join us back here at 7 a.m. in the morning.
We encourage you to follow it throughout the night on speedtv.com. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, folks. You've been watching Grand Am on Speed.